दिया होता है तो एक जगह आएगा, अगर एडजस्टमेंट में दिया हुआ है as additional information after the trial balance, then it appears at two places. It will come on the debit side of profit and loss account, and it will be deducted from debtors on the asset side of the balance sheet. Okay, so I'll just explain this point with an example. So say hypothetically this is the trial balance which is given to you. Okay, and this is debit, this is credit. So one thing is that okay, so these are two ways in which you can be given bad debts. In the first case, you are given bad debts directly in the question in the trial balance. So any item appearing in the trial balance will go at one place in the final account. So bad debts are related to the debtors who have turned insolvent. So this is an indirect expense for the business, and hence in the profit and loss account, bad debts come on the debit side. That is the left hand side, because we debit all expenses and losses and we credit all incomes and gains. तो बैड डेट्स आपका डायरेक्टली प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस अकाउंट में डेबिट साइड पे आते हैं. फिर सेकेंड जो आपको डेटर्स दिए होते हैं वो आपका असेट होते हैं, बिकॉज दे आर एक्सपेक्टेड टू गिव अस कैश इन द नियर फ्यूचर. So on the asset side of the balance sheet, the debtors will appear as 30,000. Okay, this is a simple case, no adjustment is given here. The other way in which bad debts can be given in the question are as shown in the second example. In the trial balance, you are given debtors as 30,000, and then additional information is given that the bad debts during the year are rupees 2,000. So now how do we treat the adjustment in this case? Again, in the profit and loss account, basically this is your trading and P&L account. तो P&L account वाली साइड पे आप bad debts दिखाओगे 2,000. Okay, so this is the first treatment of the adjustment. And now in the balance sheet on the asset side, you will make the second adjustment. Second adjustment will be कि आपके डेटर्स 30,000 हैं, आपको पता चलता है कि उसमें से अब जो बैड डेट्स हैं वो 2,000 हैं, तो आपकी नेट वैल्यू ऑफ debtors in the balance sheet will be 28,000. I'm just writing it here, space is less. So now your final value of debtors that appears in the balance sheet will be 28,000. So first treatment of the adjustment is that this additional information you debit in the profit and loss account, and second treatment is that these bad debts will be deducted from the debtors. Okay, So a simple bad debt adjustment is treated like this in the final accounts. Is this clear? Any question in this? Okay, because no question of final accounts is complete without an adjustment on bad debts. So this is the simplest of adjustment in the bad debts. We'll move to a higher level than this. Let's come back to the next case. This was a simple entry on bad debts. Next is provision for bad and doubtful debts. Okay, one thing is that at the end of the year, you get to know, okay, this much are the bad debts, and you make the adjustment in the final accounts. The second thing is that as per the prudence principle, प्रूडेंस प्रिंसिपल जो हमने यूनिट 1 में करी थी कि दैट वी मेक प्रोविजंस फॉर एक्सपेक्टेड लॉसेस but we don't make any provision for expected profits. So it is the conservative principle or the prudence principle according to which every business will make a separate provision for some anticipated loss in the coming year. तो आप अपने पास्ट एक्सपीरियंस के बेसिस पे एक परसेंटेज एस्टिमेट कर लेते हो कि आने वाले ईयर में जो हमें बैड डेट्स की वजह से लॉस होगा से वो 1% होगा टोटल डेटर्स का. तो आप इतनी इतनी अमाउंट का प्रोविजन अपनी बुक्स में ऑलरेडी बना लेते हो. इस प्रोविजन को हम बोलते हैं प्रोविजन फॉर बैड एंड डाउटफुल डेट. Okay, obviously the actual bad debts might be higher than this provision made or might be lower than this, but to play safe, the firm makes this provision at the starting of the year. And this is all based on your past experience because estimation of future will require some past experience on what basis you will make the forecast. So how is provision for bad and doubtful debts treated in the final accounts if given as an adjustment? So you have a look here. The two treatments are given here. Provision again is an expense for the business and hence it appears on the debit side of the profit and loss account, and it is deducted from debtors on the asset side of the balance sheet. तो ये तब है जब आपको provision for bad and doubtful debts दिया हुआ है as an adjustment entry in the trial balance. So I will show the working of this adjustment also with say one simple example. सेम वैल्यूज ले लेते हैं. डेटर्स 30,000 और उसके बाद एडिशनल इंफॉर्मेशन ले लेते हैं. Okay, so first I am taking the simplest of the cases for provision for bad and doubtful debts. So you see in the trial balance you given the value of debtors and bad debts, and then you have been asked to create a provision for bad and doubtful debts. So let's see what will be treatment in the trading account, sorry, P&L and trading account. Trading and P&L account. So basically P&L account में क्या treatment होती है? और फिर आप बैलेंस शीट में इसको कैसे ट्रीट करते हो. So let's start with the entries in the trial balance. You know that debtors go on the asset side of the balance sheet. This amount will appear as 30,000. बट क्योंकि एडजस्टमेंट है तो अभी मैं इस वैल्यू को इनर कॉलम में ही लिख रही हूँ. पूरी एडजस्टमेंट करके फाइनल वैल्यू हम आउटर कॉलम में डालेंगे. उसके बाद बैड डेट्स आपको 2000 दिए. दे कम ऑन दी डेबिट साइड ऑफ द P&L अकाउंट टू बैड डेट्स and this amount will be 2000. Okay, now we come to the additional information. You have to create a provision for bad debts at 5%. Now provision for bad debts is created on the net debtors. तो अभी जो आपकी बैलेंस शीट में डेटर्स की वैल्यू आ रही है 30,000 आ रही है. तो आपका प्रोविजन 5% ऑफ 30,000 होगा which will be rupees 1500. So provision is an expense to provision for. I'm writing the short form. Don't use short forms in the paper. Bad and doubtful debts. 1500 will come on the debit side in the profit and loss account. This is the first treatment of the adjustment given in the question. The second treatment is that this 1500 will now be deducted from the amount of the debtors. Okay, so now the final value of debtors in the balance sheet will be 28,500. So first treatment is that you make the entry for provision on the debit side of the profit and loss account, and the second treatment is that this provision is deducted from the amount of debtors on the asset side of the balance sheet. So take a minute. If there's any doubt, please ask. Yes, is this clear? So this is one case how you can be given the entry for provision. Let's see what can be. Yes,
Excuse me, ma'am.
yes, beta पूछो.
Ma'am, because bad debts are given in trial balance, so we are not subtracting it on the balance sheet.
No, no, that is what I was saying कि ये simplest case है. अभी इसके आगे मैं आपको और modifications बताती हूँ. अभी इस केस में अगर कोई क्वेश्चन है तो पहले पूछ लो आप.
No, ma'am. Okay, fine.
Okay, Adesh, you had a question.
No, ma'am.
No, just be very careful with your systems because it was showing me that you have raised your hand. Okay, so I'll take up one more type of case. ये first case था. Let's take up other possible scenarios जिसके हिसाब से आपको provision की adjustment मिल सकती है. Okay, so just have a look at this case. This is the second case as to the adjustment entry for provision for bad debts. So you are given the debtors as 30,000 इन दी ट्रायल बैलेंस, बैड डेट्स आपको 2,000 दिए हुए हैं जैसा अभी तक था, बट नाउ इन दी एडिशनल इंफॉर्मेशन you are given further bad debts and you have been asked to create a provision for bad debts at the rate 5% of the debtors. So how do we go about this adjustment? एक क्रोनोलॉजी एक सीक्वेंस फॉलो होती है। पहले हम डेटर्स, जब हमने प्रोविजन क्रिएट करना होता है तो पहले हम डेटर्स में से फर्दर बैड डेट्स को माइनस करते हैं। उसके बाद जो नेट अमाउंट आती है डेटर्स की उसके ऊपर हम प्रोविजन बनाएंगे एट द रेट 5%। ओके, सो इवन इफ द सीक्वेंस ऑफ द एंट्री इज इंटरचेंज, पहले आपको क्रिएट प्रोविजन दिया, बाद में फर्दर बैड डेट दिया, रूल यही होता है कि पहले आप डेटर्स में से फर्दर बैड डेट्स माइनस करोगे, जो नेट अमाउंट बचेगी उसके ऊपर आप प्रोविजन क्रिएट करोगे। तो हमारे क्वेश्चन में जो डेटर्स की वैल्यू है वो 30,000 है, फर्दर बैड डेट्स 2,000 है। तो अब जो प्रोविजन क्रिएट होगा वो 28,000 पे होगा, यानी कि जो आपका प्रोविजन आएगा दैट विल बी रुपीज 1,400। ओके, first thing to be very clear is that this is the sequence which is followed if further bad debts are given in the adjustment entry. Okay, so now how do we treat all the four items in final account? तो P&L अकाउंट, ट्रेडिंग एंड P&L अकाउंट में, P&L अकाउंट में पहले हम एडजस्टमेंट करेंगे और फिर हम बैलेंस शीट में ट्रीटमेंट देखते हैं कैसे करना है। तो लेट्स स्टार्ट विद द ट्रायल बैलेंस। जो आपको डेटा दिया हुआ है, पहले डेटर्स का दिया हुआ है। डेटर्स ऑन द एसेट साइड इन द इनर कॉलम आई राइट डाउन एज 30,000। ओके, दिस एंट्री डन। इसके बाद बैड डेट्स दिए हुए हैं 2,000 के, वो मैं डेबिट साइड पर P&L में लिख देती हूँ 2,000। Okay, this entry done. After trial balance, I come to the additional information. Further bad debts 2,000. So this adjustment will go at two places. I deduct the further bad debts here 2,000 and here I write down two further bad debts 2,000. So this is first effect of this adjustment and this is the second effect of this adjustment. Adjustment A. After that, you have been asked to create a provision of 5%. So next treatment will be that I create a provision of 5%. Amount has already been calculated as 1,400 and provision being an expense for the business will appear on the debit side as rupees 1,400 है। ओके, तो अब आपके पास जो नेट अमाउंट आएगी डेटर्स की दैट विल बी 26,600। This final amount comes in the balance sheet and your provision is coming as 1,400 in the P&L account on the debit side. So this is the first treatment for the second adjustment and this is the second treatment for the second adjustment. Is this clear to everyone? If there's any question now you can ask.
मैम
हाँ